Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. On this episode, we're going to do something a little bit special and different. In honor of National Coming Out Day that just happened here on October 11th, we're going to do a special podcast on 15 things that I wish I had known before I came out. So I hope these little bits of information help you or any of your friends or family who may be on the fence about coming out. Hello guys, welcome back to the Coming Out Lesbian podcast. My name is Autumn, and on this episode we are going to be discussing 15 or so things that I wish I had known before I had come out. So these are some things that I observed when I came out as a lesbian that I kind of wish I had known before. There are a few here that others have told me from their own stories coming out as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, anything like that. So I have incorporated some of these points in as talking points as well. So the first thing that I wish I had known was how liberating it actually would feel to announce that I was a lesbian. For a long time, I was hiding behind this straight persona, trying to date men, trying to get along with men in a romantic manner, trying to ignore the feelings that I had for some of my friends or just random acquaintances, random women walking down the streets, and just kind of ignoring that attraction that I had. That once I acknowledged the fact that I was a lesbian and it was okay to have these feelings, just how good I actually felt. The second thing that I wish I had known was I would be coming out more than once to multiple people multiple times. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you'll kind of think that your big coming out will be just announced to everyone, but really you'll be announcing it to your family, you'll be announcing it to your friends. If you're working, you'll have to announce it in your workplace if you feel like that is a safe thing to do. And more often than not, workplaces, at least here in America, have protections in place for LGBT folks so that you aren't discriminated against. But, if you don't feel it's a safe environment, don't come out at work. It's just an example. You may even have to come out to random people that you see in passing. These could be acquaintances that you haven't seen in a while, random people just out and about, on vacation, going to the store. Really, it just depends. And it's one of those things you kind of just don't think about until it actually happens. Third point is come out as soon as you possibly can. And the reason I say that is you will be able to live your authentic self much sooner. You'll be able to establish yourself, make friends that are like-minded, go through that process where if you have a less supportive family or a family that's a little bit ignorant on the topic, you'll be able to educate them so that they can learn as you grow, process and create that acceptance. Or if they don't accept you, unfortunately that does happen, you'll be able to move on and establish your new life with newfound family or whatever it may be. And just in general, bottling up this feeling, it isn't good. It feels like crap. And being able to address that and come out kind of sets you free. It gives you purpose and you're able to finally live that full life. But, again, if you're in a situation where it potentially could be unsafe or you may be vulnerable to abuse or abandonment, and this is especially important for the younger queer youth, ages, 10 to 18, where you're still living at home. If you feel like it is an environment where you will be disowned, it may be best to wait so you aren't homeless on the street, left without, a family, shelter. I know it might suck, but, time it accordingly. Fourth point is, don't just assume that people know you're gay. Several people may be shocked. They may, tell you like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm so happy for you. I had no idea. They may even admit to you that they're gay or they're bi, or you never know. But just don't assume that people look at you and they're like, oh, yep, she's a lesbian, or oh, yep, he's gay. It's not always an obvious thing. So you may have family members who are shocked by it, or friends that are shocked. And so, expect that that might be a possibility. Now, fifth point is definitely find support. You may be lucky and you may have really good friends who support you when you tell them. You may be even more fortunate and have family that's supportive too. I was very fortunate that my parents were supportive when I came out. I know a lot of people aren't when they tell their families. Their father may be, but their mother isn't. Both their parents may reject the idea and no longer talk to their child because of ignorance. And if your parents are on the fence, or any member of your family, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, educate them. Educate the ignorance out of them, because maybe they just need to have something explained because they don't fully understand it, or society or religion has told them one thing and they may not necessarily believe it, and they just need someone who is well versed on the topic to explain how things actually are. And if you don't have friends or family that are supportive of you, you can look into interest groups or support communities centered around LGBTQ people and coming out. And I know there's support groups for men and women that come out later in life. Just, do some Googling, do some research. There's plenty of groups out there. More often than not, they're in bigger cities. If you're unfortunately in a rural area, you may not find as much. You may have to make a drive, you may have to dig a little deeper, but they are there. So, point number 6 is, when you come out, kind of have like an idea of what you want to say. When you tell people, it obviously doesn't need to be scripted or a huge speech, but, make sure you address points that you want to make. Like for me, when I came out, I made sure to kind of describe that, I had been thinking about this for a long time since I was very young, that I had been attracted to my female friends for a while. I had kissed a few girls. I had had sex with a few girls, and that I was sure that this was what I was and that this wasn't going to change anytime soon. So obviously, it's going to be, whatever fits your life and your circumstances, but that was kind of what I said. And along with that, if you're not feeling safe, it's okay to keep, your sexuality to yourself too, until you're in a point where you'll be able to talk about it without violence. And this is a really important point. I was lucky enough that I didn't have to worry about that, but I'm sure many of you listening may be in a situation where if you tell someone, you run the risk of, assaults, verbal abuse, physical abuse, being disowned by your family. It could be a number of things, but if you have any inkling that you may receive backlash and you're vulnerable or in a position where you couldn't go out on your own and cut ties from everyone and be able to support yourself, I would say wait. And don't feel bad if you have to wait. It will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of stress in the long run if you wait until you're away from those people and safe, and you're able to tell them without really bearing the brunt of that backlash, I suppose. And along with that, if you come out to people, be prepared to lose individuals in your life or groups of people in your life that may not support you as a person. Not everyone is going to be okay with you announcing that you're gay. They may try to drag you down. They may try to make you question yourself or otherwise feel like shit or make your life hell. Many older individuals, many religious people may try to lecture you, tell you that, oh, yes, everyone is attracted to their female friends, but that's not what God tells us, or anything like that, and otherwise try to deny you your human right to love whoever you want, be whoever you want, and be your full self. So don't feel bad dropping them if they're going to be ignorant or otherwise harmful to you and abusive to you when you've done nothing to them. You absolutely do not deserve that. And there is no issue with cutting them out of your life because they don't deserve you. Never feel bad for removing something negative or evil from your life like that. You deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy. You know, my philosophy is if no one is hurting someone else, it's not my business. I do me, you do you. You know, you can love men, you can love women, you can love any gender, any sexuality, whatever. You do you. Don't waste your energy on people who are working against you. It's not worth it. I've cut people out of my life that were ignorant. It happens. It's okay. And number 9, you know, don't assume that when you come out, there's going to be big, wild lifestyle changes. For the most part, you may see some small changes. The big changes will kind of happen over time. I mean, you can make changes in your life as big or as small as you want them to be. You can decide what happens really when you come out. For me, nothing really changed. Like, the only thing was that people knew, and I started to talk about girls more in front of them. I kind of changed how I dressed a little bit. You know, I started dressing a little bit more masculine. I still dress feminine. I'm kind of like in between androgynous, but leaning towards the feminine side. So it's whatever you want it to be. And then I'm kind of harping on the whole risk of violence thing here, but don't make any like huge crazy changes if you're in a situation where you may be attacked, where being homosexual is frowned upon or illegal. And I'm talking certain countries like Russia, where expressing your sexuality may not be okay. You know, you may have to conform, unfortunately, to societal norms if you can be condemned just for your sexuality. So I kind of take that with a grain of salt. But number 10, this one kind of is unfortunate, but there will still be discrimination in your daily life, even within the LGBT community. It just kind of happens. We're all human. We're not perfect. It's human nature where we'll judge and compartmentalize people and kind of shove them into boxes. It happens, even amongst each other. Biphobia is a thing. Panphobia is a thing. People have phobias against trans people. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. You know, our community some people try to exclude certain groups, but what we forget is that LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, QIA. I mean, we're supposed to include everyone, and sometimes we fail to do that. So, you know, and in my life, I've experienced ignorance and discrimination since I've come out. I've been on dates with women where guys will come up and they'll be like, oh, can I have a threesome? I've had, you know, couples ask for threesomes. This is especially rampant on dating sites. Sucks, but it is a thing. You know, you can be just walking down the road holding hands and people will spout homophobic comments to you. It could be anything, but just be prepared for that. You may be discriminated against more often than initially when you come out. So the 11th point that I kind of want to make is, I guess this is kind of an obvious one, but some people may not really think about it. But that's that gay sex is great, but you may or may not have a learning curve when you start to have it compared to heterosexual sex. For me, since I came from having sex with men, I wasn't really used to having sex with a woman. It's a lot different in a sense that with men, I was just kind of laying there and taking it, or it was more of a situation where the guy was doing most of the dominating or most of the work. And with lesbian sex, it was definitely much different in the fact that we both kind of shared the work, we both took care of each other, and I did have to relearn sex in a way with someone of the same sex as me. But it wasn't like a bad thing. It was actually better in the sense that it was much more satisfying once I was able to relearn, calm down, and kind of just focus on feeling the moment and just letting all of my insecurities and my apprehension go. At least for me, anything new is kind of awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more you practice, the more you talk to your partner, the better things go. So just keep communication open with your partner. Don't get frustrated with yourself. If you mess up, laugh about it and just keep going. And I mean, that's really good advice for anyone having sex. I mean, you could be a veteran, 10 years of, having sex with someone, and you may still need to tell yourself that you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You shouldn't judge yourself so harshly, because sex is supposed to be fun. Sex is supposed to bring you closer to your partner, whether you're straight or gay. And we really shouldn't get so caught up in our own hang-ups about ourselves and just live in the moment, enjoy our partner, and things like that. Along with that, there is a wide spectrum of gayness, bisexuality, and so much more that there's really no black and white. So you may not know everything yet if you're just coming out. And even if you already have, you're never really going to stop learning, because, life is dynamic. Groups change, people change, you'll change. And what you are today, you may not be in, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. So, when you come out, or if you've already come out, you don't need to conform to one specific thing. You don't need to pick something and then think that you're stuck being that way for the rest of your life. Humans grow and change, and we learn, and you don't have to force yourself to stay as one aspect of your personality. You can be as colorful and eclectic as you want to be. There is nothing stopping you from changing, and you should not feel pressured to stay a certain way, especially if it makes you unhappy. And that kind of leads me into the next point too here is, don't feel the need to label yourself. You're going to put yourself in a box right away when you do that. And if you want to label yourself, that's okay. If you're a STEM lesbian, a butch lesbian, whatever you want to call yourself, you could be a femme, that's up to you. I don't necessarily label myself because I kind of flip around a lot, and I'm still discovering myself, and I'll probably still be discovering myself for a long time. So I don't really want to label myself as something. And if someone chooses to label me as something, then that's fine. I don't really care. I'm a very go with the flow type person, where if they want to call me a certain type of person, if that makes them understand me better, then that's fine. If they're doing it in a derogatory way, well then of course that's not okay. But don't feel like you have to be pressured into calling yourself one thing or another until you're ready. And you may never be ready, or you just don't want to call yourself anything in particular, and that's fine. You do you. There's no pressure, and don't feel like you have to just because other people are doing it. So my 14th point here, and this one it's a bit different, but I feel like a lot of people may need to hear this. If you're religious, don't feel you have to pick your sexuality or your religion. Don't feel like you have to pick one over the other, because religion should be based on love and acceptance, and you shouldn't have to pick one and ignore the other just because you've come out as gay. I personally find it pretty awful that a religion would tell you that being gay is wrong. So I personally am not religious, but growing up in a Catholic family, I had a hard time separating the fact that that was just a hateful part of that religion, and growing up and learning that there are actual groups that are Catholic, Christian, Muslim, whatever, where they have groups that support LGBT individuals, and they preach the love and support that the religion is supposed to have. So don't feel like you are forced to excommunicate yourself from your religion if that is something that is very important to you. Just find a proper group that will include you and support you without judgment and without trying to convert you. And that kind of leads me into my next point. If you're in a school or a university, many of these places have communities or safe spaces where you'll be protected both legally and otherwise. And if you feel like you're at risk for any reason, look into your school's LGBT community, find resources, find assistance programs. They may have support groups to kind of help folks that are kind of in a bad situation or just kind of feeling off or lost. They'll definitely have kind of meetups or groups where you can network and socialize with others like you. I know at my college we have a pretty large LGBT community that meets about once every week to every 2 weeks. There's movie nights, there's socials where there's pizza and cookies and drinks and all that. There's meetings that are outside of the college as well, where you can just kind of go and meet at a coffee shop or bar. It's obviously, of course, not promoted by the university since it's off their grounds, but they still form these groups where you can just meet and hang out in a casual social setting to kind of involve yourself more, meet new people. And the more people you know, the stronger your network is, the more support you will gain, and the less likely you are to be at risk, just feeling like ostracized or just lonely in general. It's hard, especially when this is something that not every person just accepts. You're met with adversity all the time. So having a like-minded support group really is beneficial if you're coming out. So definitely look into that. But that is about it for this episode. Kind of just 15 or so points that I wanted to make that I feel like really would have helped me when I came out. Some of them are common sense. Some of them are a little bit less known, but I hope you at least took something from at least one of the points. And if you didn't, I'm so sorry. And if you did, well, that's great. And if you have any questions or comments, or you have a topic you want me to discuss, please shoot me an email. It is comingoutLesbianpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online as well. We're on Buzzsprout, Stitcher. I believe we're on Spotify now. We are working on getting onto Apple Podcasts. But yeah, that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys next week.
Hey guys, did you like that episode? If you did, be sure to give us a like and subscribe on Instagram. We are at Coming Out Lesbian on Instagram. If you have any questions or comments for us, email us at comingoutLesbianpodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to share us with your friends and tell everyone you can.